Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Pastyatya Desatadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I've been reading from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Bhagavat was like Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada gave elaborate commentary, purports, following the commentary of Bhakti Siddhanta, which was following the commentary of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Musical chairs. Who won? Okay. Chaitanya Bhagavat was written before Chaitanya Charitamrita was written. Is actually the title was Chaitanya Mangala. However, later, another biographer of Lord Chaitanya's life named Lochandas, he called his book Chaitanya Mangala and renamed this one Chaitanya Bhagavat, with as an honorific reason behind it. His declaration was, I'm sure there was some discussion with Vrindavan Das, the author of this one, but because he's the Vyasadeva of Gaura Lila, it should be called Chaitanya Bhagavat, just as Vyasadeva compiled Bhagavat Purana, glorifying Krishna, Chaitanya Bhagavat, by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And his style is unique and filled with ecstatic, spontaneous, loving expressions without justifying anything. He does, in other words, he's not presenting sambandha or teachings of the relationship of all things with Lord Chaitanya. He's just describing his ecstatic love for Lord Chaitanya. We're in chapter 7 of the Madhya Kanda. The distinction between Adi Kanda and Madhya Kanda, or the beginning and the middle, is Lord Chaitanya becoming a devotee. He's receiving Diksha, mantra Diksha from Ishwara Puri. And there's many, many things that happen in his life of devotion in relation to Krishna. And that's what we've been reading about. The last chapter was Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya? You all know who is Advaita Acharya. Okay. Advaita Acharya, having called Lord Chaitanya to descend, was very anxious to see Lord Chaitanya exhibit his mood as a devotee and anxious to worship him and see all his opulences. So Lord Chaitanya fulfilled that desire of Advaita Acharya. There's a very detailed description of that. And then there was Sankirtan, and Lord Chaitanya ordered Advaita Acharya dance, and he danced with great jubilation. And the chapter ends with both Advaita and his good wife feeling very jubilant, seeing what their heart's desire was to see the opulences of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his willingness to give love for Krishna to everybody. And that ends chapter 6, and this is beginning of chapter 7. I'll read a short paragraph that describes what's in this chapter, and then we'll go to the chapter. The title is The Meeting of Gadadhara and Pundarika. This chapter describes the topics of Nityananda's stay at the house of Srivas Pandit, Malini's service to Nityananda in the mood of Vatsalya, Mahaprabhu shedding tears while reciting the name Pundarika. We'll hear about Pundarika is the name of a Brahmin who used to live far from Navadvip, but migrated or moved to Navadvip after Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And he was known by Mukunda, one of Lord Chaitanya's class friends, because Mukunda was from the same place that Pundarik was from. So he knew him before he came. And then once he came, he knew who he was. And he knew his elevated status. Pundarika, Vidyanidhi. Gadadhara and Mukunda's visit to Vidyanidhi, Gadadhar's doubt on seeing Vidyanidhi's opulent surroundings, Pundarika's transformations of ecstatic love on hearing Mukunda's recitation of a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Gadadhar's proposal to accept initiation from Vidyanidhi in order to manifest the pastime of counteracting the offense committed against the Vaishnav, and Pundarika's approval of this proposal. So it's focusing on Pundarik Vidyanidhi and the meeting between the two. Gadadhara, who became his initiated disciple. Gadadhara Pandit was also, like Mukunda, they were peers, same age, classmates with Nimai Pandit. So they knew each other from childhood and young adulthood. They're very, very close friends. So the starting point, I covered this before Lord Chaitanya's appearance, because it deals with Lord Nityananda and his behavior like an avaduta. You know the meaning, avaduta? Like a madman. No concern at all about social custom. Zero. Completely mad. You know, like a mad person, but detached totally from external circumstances. Yet at the same time, he was fixed in a mood like a little child towards Malini. Malini in Krishna's Leela is one of the nurses of Mother Jasoda, and Mother Jasoda's nurse fed Krishna and Balaram in Krishna's Leela. So she's feeding Nityananda. He's in the mood of a small child, and she's in the mood of his mother, or a mother. It's very interesting. Text 1. Lord Chaitanya, the reservoir of transcendental qualities, is dancing wonderfully. Although I am without qualification, Providence has given me this touchstone. This Vrindavan Das, was a disciple of Nityananda, and a great lover of Nityananda, and of Lord Chaitanya, but he was his disciple. All glories to Sri Gaurasundar, the life and soul of all. All glories to the abode of Nityananda's and Advaita's love. All glories to the life and soul of Sri Jagadananda and Sri Garbha. Jagadananda's name comes up many times in Gaura Lila, in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. He was young compared to the others who were Lord Chaitanya's associates, and he was a sannyasi, and a Brahmin. And he had kind of puzzling behavior. His intimacy with Lord Chaitanya was most different. There's many pastimes. All glories to the wealth and life of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. All glories to the Lord of Jagadish and Gopinath. All glories to the associates of Lord Gaurasundara. In this way, Sri Gaurangarai constantly enjoyed various pastimes with Nityananda in Navadvip. All devotees accompanied Advaita in dancing and loudly chanting the names of Krishna. Nityananda continued to reside in the house of Srivas Pandit. He was constantly in the mood of a child and did not manifest any other mood. He would not eat rice with his own hands, so Malini fed him as her own son. So she had this Vatsalya rasa, parental affection, motherly affection, and Nityananda was reciprocating. Now please hear the description of Sri Vidyanidhi's arrival. His name was Pundarika, and he was very dear to Lord Krishna. In order to glorify the eastern tract of land known as Chattagram, the Supreme Lord induced him to appear there. Although the Lord personally appeared in Navadvip, he sighed deeply because of not seeing Vidyanidhi there. One day, after dancing, Gora Rai sat down and cried loudly as he exclaimed, "Oh, my father, Pundarika! Oh, Pundarika, my father, oh friend, when will I see you, my dear father?" And the commentary says in Krishna Lila, he was Radharani's father. You know the name of Radharani's father? I'm asking our youth contingent. Radharani's father's name starts with a V. Rishabhanu, right. So in Gaura Lila, he is Pundarika. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Radharani, is pining for the Pundarik's association. Pundarik Vidyanidhi was such a dear associate of Lord Chaitanya. Gora Rai manifested many such devotees in this world. The devotees could not at all understand why the Lord cried while calling this name. They would say that Pundarika refers to Krishna, but on hearing the name Vidyanidhi, they began to consider. They understood that he must be a dear devotee of the Lord. When the Lord regained his external consciousness, they all inquired from him, "O Lord, for which devotee do you cry? Please tell us the truth. Let us have the good fortune of knowing him. Please tell us where he was born and what are his activities." The Lord replied, "You are all indeed fortunate, for you have developed a desire to hear about him. All his characteristics are most wonderful. Simply by hearing his name, the entire world becomes purified. His external appearance is just like a materialist. No one can recognize him as a Vaishnava. He took birth in Chattagram and is a greatly learned Brahmana. He is expert in following his religious duties and is honored by all. He constantly floats in the ocean of devotional service to Krishna. His body is decorated with symptoms of ecstatic love and like tears, shivering, and hairs standing on end. Many people disrespect the Ganges by rinsing their mouths, brushing their teeth, and washing their hair in her waters. On seeing these activities, he feels pain at heart. For this reason, he goes to see the Ganga at night. Now here, another of his wonderful characteristics. He drinks the water of the Ganges before worshiping the Lord. Then he worships the Lord and executes his other regulative duties. In this way, he teaches religious principles to all learned scholars. He lives in Chattagram, yet he also has a house here. He will come soon. Then you will all see him. On seeing him, none of you will immediately recognize him. Rather, you'll simply consider him a materialist. I cannot have peace of mind without seeing him. Therefore, all of you attract him to come here. After speaking in this way, the Lord became overwhelmed and began to cry and call out, "Oh, Pundarika! Oh, Father!" The Lord cried loudly. Only he knows the glories of his devotees. Lord Chaitanya alone knows the glories of his devotees. Only one whom he favors may also know them. In this way, the Lord attracted Pundarika, who thus decided to visit Navadvip. He came with many servants, brahmanas, disciples, devotees, and paraphernalia. He came and secretly resided in Navadvip, where everyone saw him as a gross materialist. None of the Vaishnavas knew him except Mukunda, mentioned earlier, from the same place, who immediately recognized him. The learned doctor, Sri Mukunda, knew him, for they were both born in Chattagram. The Lord was unlimitedly happy to know about the arrival of Vidyanidhi, but the Lord did not disclose this fact to any of the Vaishnavas. Pundarika appeared to be just like a materialist. Only Mukunda and Vasudev Datta knew the glories of his ecstatic love. Gadadhara Pandit was very dear to Mukunda. He was a constant companion of Mukunda. Whatever news Mukunda heard, he would tell to Gadadhara. One day he said, "Today, a wonderful Vaishnava has arrived. Oh, Gadadhara Pandit, listen carefully. Would you like to see a Vaishnava? Today I will show you a wonderful Vaishnava, so that you may think of me as your servant." On hearing this, Gadadhara became very pleased. They immediately departed while chanting the name of Krishna. Vidyanidhi Mahasai was sitting in his house when Gadadhara arrived before him. Gadadhara Pandit offered obeisances to Pundarik, in turn offered him Vidyanidhi name. So Vidyanidhi, the elder, said to the one he knew, Mukunda, "Who is this other person?" That's Gadadhara Pandit is the other person. "What is his name and where does he live? I can see that his body is effulgent due to his devotion to Vishnu. His appearance and nature are both enchanting." Mukunda said, "His name is Sri Gadadhara. He is fortunate because since his childhood, he has been detached from family life. He is known as the son of Madhava Mishra. All the Vaishnavas have great affection for him. He is constantly engaged in devotional service and always associates with devotees. On hearing your name, he came to see you." Vidyanidhi was greatly satisfied to hear this and began to speak to him with great respect. The way Pundarik Mahasai sat there, it appeared as if he were a prince. He sat on an opulent reddish couch decorated with brass armrests. There were three opulent canopies over his head. Next to him, there was an opulent bed covered with fine silk cloth and having pillows on all sides. There were 5 or 7 big and small water pots. There was an opulent brass container filled with already prepared pan. 2 opulent spittoons were on his 2 sides. He smiled as he chewed pan and looked at his lips. 2 persons constantly fanned him with opulent fans made from peacock feathers. His forehead was decorated with sandalwood paste tilak and dots of sandalwood paste and vermilion. What can I say about the wonderful style of his hair, which was anointed with fragrant amalaki oil? By the influence of devotional service, his body appeared like that of Cupid. Anyone who did not know him would certainly consider him a prince. In front was a wonderful palanquin equipped with all accessories. By his paraphernalia, he appeared to be a materialist. On seeing his materialistic form, some doubt arose in the heart of Sri Gadadhara. Gadadhara Masai had been renounced from the time of his birth, so he developed some doubt about Vidyanidhi. He is a great Vaishnav. His appearance, with his opulent foodstuffs, opulent dress, and opulent hairstyle, is completely like that of a materialist. Gadadhara had good faith in him after hearing about him, but now he saw him, and now that he saw him, that faith was lost. Understanding the heart of Gadadhara, Sri Mukunda happily began to reveal Vidyanidhi's glories. He knew what would happen. Now, Mukunda is a celebrated singer. So he didn't just sing, he was a virtuoso. So he picked the Bhagavatam verse and started singing it. By the mercy of Krishna, nothing is unseen or unknown to Gadadhara, for Krishna is the Lord of Maya. Then Mukunda, who sweetly sings the glories of Krishna, began to recite some verses glorifying devotional service. Quote, "The witch Putana mercilessly kills children. She tried to kill the Lord with poison, yet the Lord awarded her the position of mother. How can a foolish person not worship such a merciful Lord?" Now, this is a Bengali rendering of a verse spoken by she knows. You know who is Uddhava? You know who is Uddhava? Okay, good. So he's singing a verse that's paraphrasing a verse spoken by Uddhava in 3rd Canto, Chapter 1, Bhagavatam. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more? It says, this is the verse from the Bhagavatam. Aho bhakiyam stana kala kutam. How shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon, Putana, although she was unfaithful, and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. Putana was always hankering for the blood of human children. And with that desire, she came to kill Krishna. But because she offered her breast to the Lord, she attained the greatest achievement. As soon as Vidyanidhi heard this description of devotional service, he began to weep. The unprecedented flow of tears from his eyes appeared like an incarnation of Ganga Devi. All the symptoms of ecstatic love, like tears, shivering, perspiration, losing consciousness, hairs standing on end, and loud shouting simultaneously manifest in his body. He roared loudly while exclaiming, "Go on reciting! Go on reciting!" He could not remain steady and fell to the ground. He broke all the surrounding paraphernalia by kicking of his feet. Nothing was spared. What happened to the opulent pan container and the nicely prepared pan? What happened to the water pots that were used to drink water? Where did the bed fall by the kick of his feet? Out of ecstatic love, he tore apart his opulent cloth with his two hands. What happened to his opulent hairstyle as he rolled on the ground and cried profusely, "Oh, Krishna, oh my Lord, oh Krishna, my life and soul, you have made my heart hard like wood or stone." He lamented and cried, "In your present incarnation, I have been deceived." He fell to the ground and rolled about so forcefully that everyone thought, had his bones been broken to pieces? He shivered so vigorously out of ecstatic love that even 10 men could not hold him down. Clothes, bedding, water pots, bowls, and all other paraphernalia were smashed by the kicking of his feet. There was not a single item spared. All of his servants then pacified him and protected what was left. After revealing his ecstatic love for some time in this way, he remained lying there, unconscious due to ecstasy. There was no symptom of life in his entire body as Vidyanidhi merged in the ocean of bliss. After seeing this, Gadadhara was struck with wonder and became somewhat worried. "No, I have disregarded such a great personality. At what inauspicious time did I come to see him?" Gadadhar Pandit embraced Mukunda with great satisfaction and bathed him in tears of love. "Oh, Mukunda, you have acted as my real friend, for you have shown me the great devotee, Vidyanidhi Bhattacharya. Is there another Vaishnav like him in the three worlds? In fact, the three worlds become purified by seeing his devotional service. I was able to avoid a great danger because you were with me. On seeing his materialistic appearance, I considered him a materialistic Vaishnav. You understood my mind and revealed the devotional mood of Pundarika. I have committed an offense, so please have him bestow his mercy on me so that my offense is nullified." All the devotees who are on the path of devotional service must have a spiritual master. So far, I do not have an instructor. My desire is to take mantra initiation from him. If I become his disciple, then he will forgive all the offenses I have committed by disregarding him. After contemplating in this way, Gadadhar expressed to Mukunda his desire to take initiation. Hearing his proposal, Mukunda was greatly satisfied. He glorified that proposal by saying, "Very good, very good." After 6 hours, the most grave Vidyanidhi regained his external consciousness and sat down peacefully. Gadadhar Pandit's unlimited tears made his entire body wet. Seeing this, Vidyanidhi Mahasai was most pleased. He embraced Gadadhar and held him to his chest. As Gadadhar stood there in awe and reverence, Mukunda revealed Gadadhar's mind. Doubts arose in his mind when he saw your behavior and opulence. In order to atone for his offense, he has now decided to take initiation from you. He is a renounced devotee of Vishnu, and since his childhood he has shown the experience of a mature person. Moreover, he is a qualified son in the family of Madhava Mishra. He has been a constant companion of the Lord since his childhood. Therefore, Pundarika and Gadadhara make the perfect guru and disciple. Please select an auspicious day to initiate him in the mantra of your worshipable Lord. On hearing this, Pundarik Vidyanidhi smiled and said, I have obtained a precious jewel by the arrangement of providence. I will certainly initiate him, there is no doubt about it, by the good fortune accumulated in many births when attains such a disciple. The most auspicious moment will be found on the Dwadasi of the next waning moon. Your desire will be fulfilled on this day. Hearing this, Gadadhara happily offered him obeisances. Taking leave of Mukunda on that day, Gadadhara went to see Lord Gauranga. Lord Vishwambar was unlimitedly pleased to hear of the arrival of Vidyanidhi. One night, Vidyanidhi secretly came to see the Lord. He left everyone behind and came alone. As soon as he saw the Lord, he fell unconscious. Out of ecstasy, he fell unconscious to the ground, even before he offered obeisances to the Lord. After a while, he regained external consciousness and roared loudly. Then he wept as he condemned himself. Oh, Krishna, my life and soul. Oh, Krishna, my child, how much suffering you are giving this offender. My child, you have delivered the entire world. I alone have been cheated. There was no Vaishnava that did not recognize the position of Vidyanidhi. When he cried, everyone cried. Knowing that his dearmost devotee had arrived, Vishwambar, who is most affectionate to his devotees, respectfully got up and embraced him. The Lord cried while exclaiming, Oh, Father Pundarik, today I have seen my father with my own eyes. Then all the devotees came to know about the arrival of Vidyanidhi Gosai. Then all the Vaishnavas began to cry in ecstasy. That scene was most wonderful and cannot be described by words. Sri Gaurasundar held Vidyanidhi to his chest and soaked his entire body with tears of love. All the devotees could understand that he was most dear to the Lord. They displayed love, awe, and intimacy for him. Vidyanidhi did not release the Lord from his chest. It appeared that the Lord merged with his body. Gaurachandra remained there motionless for 3 hours. Thereafter, the Lord regained his external consciousness and chanted the names of Hari. Today, Lord Krishna has fulfilled my desires. Today, I've attained that which is beyond my dreams. After meeting all the Vaishnavas, Pundarika joined them in Kirtan. His name is Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Providence has created him to distribute loving devotional service. While describing his qualities in this way, the Lord raised his arms and loudly chanted the name of Hari. The Lord said, Today, my morning was most auspicious. Today, I felt the presence of great auspiciousness. Today, I must have gotten up at a most auspicious moment, for I have directly seen Premanidhi with my own eyes. Thereafter, Sri Premanidhi regained his external consciousness. Recognizing his Lord, he offered obeisances. He offered obeisances to Sri Advaita Prabhu, and then offered appropriate love and devotion to everyone else. All the devotees were filled with ecstasy on seeing Pundarika, who is such an ocean of love. Only the most fortunate Vyasadeva is qualified to describe the love and devotion that manifested at that time. Then Gadadhara asked the Lord for permission to take mantra diksha from Pundarika. Not understanding his unfathomable characteristics, some disrespect arose in my heart. Therefore, I wish to become his disciple, for the spiritual master will certainly forgive the offenses of his disciple. That's a pretty clever way to deal with offenses. The Lord was satisfied, and in hearing the words of Gadadhara, and said, "Do it quickly, do it quickly." Thereafter, Gadadhara took initiation from Pimanidhi with full satisfaction. And there's our last page. What more can I say about the glories of Pundarika, who had such a disciple as Gadadhara? He was the topmost devotee. I have thus described a few topics regarding Pundarika Vidyanidhi. My only desire is that I may see him someday. Pundarika and Gadadhara were the ideal spiritual master and disciple. They were both dear to Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Anyone who reads or hears about the meeting of Pundarika and Gadadhara obtains the wealth of love. So congratulations, everybody. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. And that's the end of Bhajikanda Part 1. Don't worry, there's more in Bhajikanda after Chapter 7. Pundarik Vidyanidhi isn't spoken of a lot in Gaura Lila, but another significant episode or exchange took place in Jagannath Puri. You know the pastime? Jagannath Puri, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. There's a Leela, there's a festival every year called Odana Shasti. You've heard of someone. Odana Shasti is, it's a festival. They have, any reason for a festival, they have a festival. So it's change of season from winter season to whatever the next season is. And in the festival, there's different things. But one of the customs in Puri is they give Lord Jagannath new cloth. And the new cloth they give Jagannath is new cloth, and it's starched. New cloth, starched. Pundarik Vidyanidhi and another devotee were observing the Odana Shasti festival, and when they were walking home, he complained. So why do they give cloth with starch? Sometimes new cloth, it's like cardboard. It's really stiff. And it's not clean, it's not pure. How can they offer that to the deity? And the explanation is this all the activities of worship of Lord Jagannath are found in the Puranas, connected with the installation of Jagannath. And then Jagannath told everybody, this is how to worship me. And it's recorded. And they follow it very carefully. And this is one of those festivals. So they're just following what the Puranic tradition says. That night, Pundarik Vidyanidhi had a dream. And in his dream, Lord Jagannath came, and he was really angry. And with his two arms, he slapped him silly. You never do this again. Never do this again. And you're lucky you're still alive and departed. And in the morning, his cheeks were all swollen and bruised. And he said, I forget the other devotee's name, Srup Damodar or something, he showed and said, this is what happened last night. The Lord is very kind. He had a way of disguising his devotion by hiding behind opulence. because most of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, even if they were householders, they maintained simple lifestyle. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya Vidya, knowledge and detachment. So they lived simple life, largely. But Pundarika went the other direction. Super opulent, extravagant, looking like a materialist. Lord Chaitanya said, when he comes, people will think he's a materialist. Sure enough, Gadadhara thought like that. But just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam being sung, he swooned and he lost it. He went into like a convulsive state of madness and rolling on the ground and being unaware of anything external. And Mukunda knew that. So Mukunda wanted his good school friend, Gadadhara, to meet a Vaishnava. So here's a real Vaishnava, hiding behind, looking like he's not a Vaishnava. There's an interesting pastime connected with Haridas, no, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. You know Gaur Kishore, right? Gaur Kishore. So Gaur Kishore was renunciation personified because he was so elevated in his Krishna consciousness, not just renounced, but elevated in his Krishna consciousness. Many, many people would come to see him, and they would want his blessings. Their blessings was something material. So he would, he let them know in really intense terms, your desires are, I'm not interested in. Anyway, he would say harsh things sometimes to shock them, to detach them from their materialism. So one time, he decided he would stop botheration by dressing in brand new cloth, sitting in a rocking chair on the porch of a well-known prostitute in Naperville, sitting there waving at people as they would go by. I'm just a pretender, so don't pay attention to me, leave me alone. He would do different things like that in a very funny way. Another like that, another avaduta behavior, he, to avoid being bothered by people, he continued his chanting inside, I guess you would call it a latrine, public latrine. Those of you that have been to those places, they really smell bad. So he made his residence in a public latrine. And the people were they couldn't bear it. So they requested a constable to coax him to come out. We'll make a nice place for you, please come. And he heard the man coming and speaking, so he locked the door from the inside and chanted louder, "Go away." Pundarika wasn't that extreme, but he was concealing his elevated devotion. But those that knew the art of having him revealed was singing. There's a similar pastime, not quite the same, that's told about Haridas Thakur. This is when Haridas Thakur was living in Pulia. Pulia is near Navadvip, somewhere in between Navadvip and where Bhaktivinoda Thakur stayed. We can visit the place. I mean, it's still there today, Pulia. And when he was walking along the street, there was a Muslim snake charmer. Had a cobra dancing. So he was playing on his musical instrument. Somehow they can charm a cobra, and the cobra was moving. And as the cobra was moving, the Muslim snake charmer was reciting verses about Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya Nag. And as he was singing those verses from the Bhagavatam, Haridas Thakur was passing by, and he heard the verses, and he similarly went into a state of ecstasy and was convulsing and rolling on the ground and behaving spontaneously in a out of control mood. Nearby was a Brahmin who was envious. Why is he doing like this? He's getting so much honor and attention. I should get honor and attention. So he started rolling on the ground too. And the snake charmer took his musical instrument and started hitting the Brahmin. And he got up and ran away. And someone in the crowd said, why did you honor, he said some things honoring Haridas, but you beat this other person? Because they look like they're doing the same thing, because he's a pretender. And Haridas is the genuine thing. And he could understand it. So sometimes it's not so, we don't so frequently hear those symptoms of ecstasy, but sometimes when they come, they just come. So Pundarika Vijayanidhi meets Gadadhara. That's the end of this. This is part 1 of Madhyakanda. Part 1 ends when Lord Chaitanya takes sannyas. It's the transition point is initiation and then taking sannyas. And then he goes to Puri. But Vrindavan Das had access primarily to his Navadvip pastimes, so the Adikanda and Madhyakanda. Have any of you been to his birthplace in Mamgachi in Mayapur? Someday. Very nice place. Very simple. Very, very simple. At the time that he was living there, he and his mother moved there shortly after Lord Chaitanya's taking sannyas, because they couldn't bear to see Navadvip without Lord Chaitanya. So, in separation, they moved to another place, not far, Mamgachi. But at that time, it was kind of like a jungle. Not kind of like a jungle. It was a jungle with a canopy of trees blocking the light of the sun in all directions. It's a very, very simple setting. There's, even today, there's a road, but it's pretty humble road. And then it was just a footpath to get there. A footpath through a jungle, and the house where he was born, now there's a little temple, and very simple little temple. Nice deities, and it just down the road a little bit from where Vrindavan Das's birthplace was. It's a place where Sranga Thakur was residing, and there are some deities that were installed there by Bhaktisiddhanta, and there's a really nice pastime connected. Bhaktisiddhanta really did it up. In order to install the deity, there was one of the Gaudiya Math temples. He arranged for an elephant procession through the jungle. The deity was up on the elephant, and Bhaktisiddhanta was leading the elephant procession and big kirtan, and installed the deity in the middle of a jungle. Now, even today, when you go there, you'll see it's very, very simple. It's not. You can see the light of the sun, but not too much, because there's so many tall, towering trees. It's really nice. Very simple, very peaceful. And that's where Vrindavan Das was born, and that's where he spent most of his life. Mamgachi, a part of Navadvip Dham. So let's see if there's some discussion. It's a short section that we read. Some of the sections have been pretty long.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. This pastime is a little bewildering to me.
It's what?
Bewildering to me, even.
Revealing?
Bewildering.
Bewildering.
Even earlier when I have heard this, I don't know, it could be my misinterpretation or misapplication of simple living and high thinking is the way to go for devotional service. So I have two-part question, Guru Maharaj. Even for devotee like Gadadhara Pandit, it wasn't easy to see the devotion of Pundarika Vidyanidhi unless, until Mukunda actually connected to Srimad Bhagavatam and then seeing that. So my first part is when I see the other devotees with apparent opulences or material comforts, not so much of a simple living lifestyle, how can I still continue to have the respect and not be judgmental about their devotion?
We'll just give up judgmentalism. Whatever the reason is for somebody simple, or whatever, if somebody has a simple lifestyle, they can be in big Maya. The person who has an opulent lifestyle can be in big Krishna consciousness. So don't judge a book by its cover. So what's the base? Then how do you judge a book? By its contents. And what's the bhakti that's being carried within an individual? How do they engage the opulence they have, or how do they engage themselves in that simple living lifestyle? With their absorption.
Second part is
it takes maturity to see like that. And the obvious, as you pointed out, even Gadadhar, what to speak of the rest of us, sees the way that they see. You see the outside. Because often the outside is some indication of what's inside. But that's not a one-to-one correspondence.
The second part is for my personal application, Guru Maharaj. I've been contemplating on this for past few weeks. There is some eagerness and desire, kind of feel sincere towards Krishna consciousness, which wasn't there earlier. But at the same time, there is also, equal or even more inclination towards material comforts, or kind of having a comfortable life and working towards that myself, or encouraging kids to have that kind of life, more stable, secure in terms of that. So earlier my understanding is as we progress in devotional service, our attachment to Krishna and the devotional activities keep increasing, and proportionately our attachment to the material life or anything related to that keeps reducing. But in my case, I feel it's like both are increasing.
Recently, someone was asking, not the same, but something similar. And the answer that I gave, I'll say what the question and answer was, and the answer applies to this also. the individual said, when I was younger, it was much easier to easily to do austerities. And now that I'm getting a little older, it's not as easy to do austerities. So what's going on? The whatever is easy or not easy when you're younger, as you get older, the principle of austerities or simplicity of lifestyle, etc., is resting upon bhakti. So what may be easy in the beginning, as one moves along the bhakti path, the quantum and quality of bhakti makes the difference of how one approaches things, like you specifically a comfortable lifestyle or atmosphere surrounding. Now, one can artificially go this way, one can artificially go that way. What's best is where it's not artificial. And commonly, where necessities are there, and of course, what's necessity and what's not necessity. Just like, having this little doodad. It's not a necessity. But, there's a reason behind it. It has to do with the image from the camera and not having a microphone, and the technology of new cameras. The focus goes according to what's in front of the camera's image. And if the microphone is in the way, then the face is blurry, because that's just how the technology works. So this makes it better for the camera. So there's a purpose. That's right. Something like that. So we can engage things in Krishna's service, but the operative principle is engaging things in Krishna's service. And it's helpful to engage things in Krishna's service if the mind has necessities. If the senses have necessities, and with the sense of necessities being supplied, then a regulated lifestyle, the mode of goodness increases. And when that is not there, then there's anxiety, and that becomes another distraction. So one doesn't want to go too far this way or too far that way. So supposing, arranging for yourself and advocating for others where necessities are met. Look, most importantly, as I answered this other question, is the bhakti factor. How strong is the bhakti factor? Are you interested in just having a comfortable life, or one that disturbance and distractions are minimized without bhakti increasing? Then that's useless. Spiritually speaking, it's useless. If it's for the purpose of strengthening bhakti, then it's useful. And it is advisable to people to have something as a career or lifestyle that matches what necessities are. And then different people have a different sensibility about what necessities are. And, modern life, certainly modern life in the West, necessities doesn't mean contentment. Having necessities doesn't mean contentment, what to speak of increased bhakti. So the real factor is increasing bhakti, and that which facilitates increasing bhakti, that's good. That's something that's worthy of putting in place in one's life. Knowing that nothing here is stable. Whatever you put in place, wait a while, and it starts to move around. It's just the way it is. But going in that direction so that bhakti can be strengthened, allowing for the uncertainty factor that always happens. Right?
I just had a question.
Same question as hers?
Well, similar.
Similar?
Yes. I was thinking that isn't it true that sometimes Krishna, a devotee may have some material desire and Krishna may allow that devotee to fulfill only to show him, that this is if you want to live like a materialist, then here's the suffering that goes with it. And just to get the devotee in line.
Yeah, there's different purposes that Krishna may fulfill desire. That's certainly one of them. You haven't asked any questions yet. You're a thoughtful one. Any?
I'm still thinking. Yeah.
Okay, I'm stirring. Sorry to put you on the spot, but you have something? No? Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, this question is not related to this class. In general, some people chant the holy name with Hare Rama in the first. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Right.
Hare, and Hare Krishna. I checked with my seniors, and they said that in the Vedic scriptures it is like that format, like a Hare Rama, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu changed they swapped it because to become inclusive for everyone to be benefited by chanting. Is that understanding correct, Maharaj?
Almost. I mean, both are there. Kali Sanatana Upanishad has in this sequence. There are other references that have it in the other sequence. It's not that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it this sequence to make it universal or something like that. It's just that's the sequence, and there is scriptural evidence, Upanishad evidence for it, and other places as well. And there's other references where Hare Rama is first. And it really doesn't matter. But we do because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did for whatever all the reasons, including the scripturally based. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anything back here? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.